Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships, and there are many changes afoot in World of Warships. The Halloween event is in full swing, the carrier rebalance is on the test server, and Tier 5 is playing host to the current ranked season, none of which I'm going to be showing you in today's video. This is El Marto in the Imperial Japanese Navy Tier 10 heavy cruiser, the Zhao, one of the original ships introduced into the game on its release, and still a bloody good ship. The Zhao plays very differently to, for example, the American Tier 10 heavy cruiser, the USS Des Moines, despite the fact that they're both 203mm gun-armed heavy cruisers. The Des Moines has 3 guns less, it only has 9 compared to the Zhao's 12, but the Des Moines fires those guns more than twice as quickly. The differences don't end there. The Des Moines, in common with other American heavy cruisers, gets very, very nice armor-piercing shells, whereas the Zhao and the other Japanese heavy cruisers have armor-piercing shells that could best be described as adequate. The high explosive shells on the Zhao, on the other hand, have a ridiculously high 19% base chance of setting a fire on target. And it's the fact that she fires 12 of these at you at once that's led to this ship being nicknamed the Firestarter. Amusingly, it's this ridiculous chance of setting a fire on target that's led to the British Tier 10 battleship HMS Conqueror being nicknamed the Mega Zhao, because that thing has a 46% chance of setting a fire on target. But anyway, we're getting kind of off topic here. Back to the Zhao. In common with other Japanese cruisers, it also has torpedoes. It actually has a lot of torpedoes, 2 launchers on each side, although the firing arcs aren't fantastic. But the torpedoes themselves are very nice. The Zhao is also a very stealthy heavy cruiser with the relevant crew skills and equipment fits. It will enjoy a sub 10 km surface detection range. And while the armour on this ship is definitely nowhere near battleship standards, it's reasonably tanky for a cruiser, allowing it to bounce a fair amount of armour-piercing shells when properly angled. El Marto lining up his first salvo at the enemy Edinburgh, and with his RPF skill indicator pointing squarely at the enemy light cruiser, he knows that there are no other enemy ships closer than 10 kilometres. Or is it? The RPF indicator is sort of pointing in the direction of the Edinburgh, but it's not pointing directly at the Edinburgh. There could be another enemy ship, substantially closer, just on roughly the same line of bearing. So, rather than take any chances, El Marto fires up his sonar and oh look, who would have guessed? Enemy destroyer, point-blank range. He immediately pulls a hard turn to avoid the inevitable torpedoes, and the temptation must have been there to just ease off on the rudder slightly in order to get some shots away at that Yugumo, because the ship will outturn its turrets if you're in a full turn. But making sure he didn't eat any of those torpedoes was almost certainly the wiser choice. The Edinburgh appears to have popped a smoke screen, unless that's another enemy destroyer's smoke screen, and this Yugumo appears to be laying smoke as well. Unfortunately for him, he's actually still inside sonar range, so he's not going to be able to go undetected. El Marto dumps his torpedoes in the water in the direction of the, presumably, Edinburgh's smokescreen, and swinging the ship around, he's able to bring his front turrets to bear, and hopefully finish off the Yugumo and get himself the first blood award. Off to a great start indeed. Now, the combination of the Yugumo and Edinburgh's smoke screens means that he is once again completely undetected. His torpedoes are on the way. There's the Edinburgh's smoke screen, no sign of the Edinburgh as yet. And as he's observing for signs of any torpedo hits, that's when he sees the 152mm armour piercing blazing out from behind the island. The Edinburgh just dumped the smoke to cover his retreat, so unless there's something else lurking inside that smoke screen, those torpedoes are probably not going to hit anything. Which is kind of a shame, because the combination of the Yugumo and the Edinburgh smoke screens would have almost certainly meant that those torpedoes would have been 100% undetected, and if there had been anything in that smoke screen, it would have been getting a very nasty surprise around about now. But there was nothing there. Once again, the RPF indicator is pointing in the direction of where the Edinburgh was last spotted, so once again, with slightly more confidence this time, El Marto knows that the Edinburgh is the closest ship to him. So, what to do? There is a Gross Occur first, and a Musashi moving up to engage the enemy turrets in Yamato. But if that Edinburgh maintains position, he's going to have the opportunity to catch them in a crossfire. And yep, there he is. Spotted him at exactly the same time that he spotted El Marto. El Marto gets the shots off, the Edinburgh doesn't. He does score a hit. Unfortunately, it's a 0 damage, high explosive penetration. Yeah, now I can't explain that one either. Looks like some shots from the Yamato shooting at the Edinburgh as well, but he didn't appear to get anything but an over penetration. It looks like El Marto has decided that he's going to go after the Edinburgh, and that would make sense. The Edinburgh's in a flanking position. If you can take him out, he will be in a flanking position on the enemy turrets in Yamato. He's undetected again. The Edinburgh doesn't enjoy that privilege. More shots coming in from the Musashi. Coloured red tracer again. Seem to be seeing a lot of Japanese ships with Yamamoto Isoroku as the captain. And again, nothing but an over penetration. That's got to be kind of frustrating. El Marto, biding his time, being patient, just creeping up on the Edinburgh. Undetected, thanks to his 9.7 kilometre surface detection range. That Edinburgh is about to get a very nasty surprise. Be very, very quiet. We're hunting Edinburghs. More shots coming in from the Musashi. More over penetrations. El Marto has done more damage to the Edinburgh with half a high explosive salvo of 203mm guns than the Musashi's done with 3 salvos of 460mm guns. Pops his hydro, just in case the Edinburgh has fired some torpedoes in this direction. If there are going to be any, they're going to be coming around the left-hand side of that island just ahead, so with the hydro up, you should get plenty of advance warning. The Edinburgh is kind of painting himself into a bit of a corner here. He stays on that course, he's going to run into the map border. And in order to not run into the map border, he's going to have to turn and give broadside to El Marto's 203mm guns. El Marto, on the other hand, is able to angle quite successfully against the Edinburgh's 152mm semi-armour piercing. The Edinburgh's doomed. You can angle against armour piercing, but you can't angle against high explosive. So I can only assume he's just trying to make himself as small a target as possible and try to get some distance, but well, he's got no chance of going undetected. Even if he was to try to turn, maybe dump a smoke screen and make a break for the eastern side of the map, there's a Yugamo in the way. He's going to spot him the second he leaves the smoke screen. Now, he doesn't know that, so he's just trying to do as much damage as he can before he dies. But he's not even going to make it to the map border. And this is El Marto's second kill.
Enemy cruiser destroyed.
You see that friendly Musashi up ahead? He's on 88,000 health. And engaged in a gunfight with an enemy Yamato on 28,000 health. Now, that Yamato just sank, but in the process ate a bunch of torpedoes from a friendly Shimakaze. Now remember that, the Musashi has 88,000 health, 60,000 health more than the Yamato. And the Musashi is basically just a tier 9 Yamato. They have exactly the same 460mm guns, the same health, the same armour layout. So bearing that in mind, who can tell me just what the hell happened here? Look at that! Where did all of his health go? Was he broadsiding a Yamato? Oh, he's dead. Yeah, there he goes. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Oh, hang on, there is a very suspicious looking smoke screen over there. It's possible an enemy destroyer did most of the damage and the Yamato just finished him off. And the enemy Yamato is getting remarkably cocky in chat. He's there asking for the next suicider. Now, considering it was actually an enemy destroyer that did most of the damage to the Musashi, and considering that that Yamato has less than 5,000 health remaining, that's a very, very bold request to be making in a tier 10 battle. And in fact, the friendly Grosser Kurfürst, who until very recently was with that Musashi, is about to shut that Yamato up permanently. And bang, there we go. He's dead. Now, as for the overall situation, the team are actually in a fairly strong position. They're down on ships, but they're way ahead on points because they've held all 3 of the caps for most of the game. And even though they are down on ships, the team have managed to herd the entire enemy fleet into 1/4 of the map, so they're basically raining fire down on them from all directions in the kind of crossfire that you can only dream about. So it's difficult to see how they could actually lose from here on in. Difficult, but not impossible. Never underestimate the ability of a team of random players in a multiplayer game to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
Our victory is in sight.
The in-game announcer appears to think that victory is in sight, and it is in sight. Even though the enemy team are flipping one of the caps, the team still have a massive points lead. And they still hold two of them, with next to no chance that the enemy team is going to be in a position to flip them, cornered as they are, in the southeastern end of the map. This Tirpitz is doomed. So the enemy team are about to lose their one ship advantage, and they're 500 points behind. And just as everybody's about ready to throw a ticker tape parade in the streets of New York City to celebrate, the Tirpitz sinks the Grosse Kerr first, the enemy Zhao sinks the Shimakaze, and for a few brief seconds, Elmarto's team are outnumbered 2-1.
Enemy battleship foundered.
Elmarto notches up his third kill on the Tirpitz, picking up the Arsonist award into the process, but now they're outnumbered 5 ships to 3.
Our victory is in sight.
And despite what the in-game announcer might have you believe, the victory isn't quite as in sight as it certainly seemed to be just a couple of minutes ago. Elmarto pops his Hydro and his spotter plane, because there's a Shimakaze and a Harugamo out there somewhere, and starts to lay into this Montana with his high explosive shells. There are only 3 of them left alive. He's got the Yugamo with him. The Neptune, on the other hand, is right at the other end of the map, fighting his own lonely little battle, probably against the enemy Des Moines. Elmarto can't seem to get a fire on this Montana all of a sudden, but with these guns it's really only just a matter of time. Angled against the Montana's return salvo, took minimal damage, finally gets the fire that he wanted on the Montana, and the Montana immediately damage controls it. With an enemy destroyer lurking around somewhere, almost all of his health and only 1 fire, the Montana burns his damage control. Idiots like that deserve to burn to death, or if the Yugamo can land a torpedo, flood to death. Either works, I'm not particularly fussy. It's battleship players like that who go and cry all over the forums about overpowered cruiser high explosive spam. Suddenly there's a bit of a plot twist. We knew the Shimakaze or the Harugamo were out there somewhere. There were far too many smoke screens that weren't ours for there to be anything other than at least one enemy destroyer out there. I'm not sure exactly what happened up there, but I suspect the Yugamo was closing in to try and land at least 1 torpedo on the Montana, got spotted by the Shimakaze, and since he was spotted anyway, didn't really have anything to lose by opening fire, so he's now pretty much permanently spotted. Unfortunately, the Shimakaze is not the only tier 10 destroyer that the enemy team have in that location. There's the Harugamo as well, and that thing is deeply scary if you're in a destroyer. So the Yugamo has stopped shooting, and he's trying to bug out and go undetected. Provided he does stop shooting, he should be able to escape detection. He can easily outrun the Harugamo, and the Shimakaze probably doesn't want to remain spotted any more than the Yugamo over there does. So he's stopped shooting and stealthed up as well. For the moment, that just leaves the Montana. Elmarto hasn't had an awful lot of luck in setting any further fires on this guy. The first fire burnt itself out naturally. Well, technically that was the second fire. The first fire got damage controlled, but it's been so long since Elmarto set the first fire on this Montana that the damage control is probably back up by now. Let's put that to the test, shall we? Let's see what happens with the next fire that Elmarto sets on this Montana. You never know. He might just had a case of fat fingers earlier and accidentally extinguished a single fire with a 203mm gun-armed heavy cruiser with a 19% base chance of fire from high explosive shells shooting at him. There's another fire, and there's the damage control. Well, okay, fine. You asked for it. Let's see how many more fires we could stack on this guy. Oh, hang on a second, that's not good. The Yugamo's been caught by the Harugamo, and is probably about to die to the Harugamo. Actually, it's worse than that.
You are the last hope. Victory is in sight.
The in-game announcer can't seem to make his mind up all of a sudden. Our victory is in sight, and now you are our last hope. Yes, Elmarto is now the last ship left alive on his team. The Harugamo did catch the Yugamo and sank him, and the enemy Des Moines burnt the Neptune to death. Now what are you going to do? Satisfying though it undeniably is to watch this Montana burn to death, because the idiot used his damage control on a single fire while getting spammed with 203mm high explosive. Satisfying though that undeniably may be, it might be a better idea to just try to bug out and go undetected and run the clock down. You know, win on points. Then again, you might not be able to win on points at this stage because the enemy have taken 2 of the caps and you only hold 1. But the Harugumo isn't that far away from Alpha and could easily slip in there and flip it. It would be nice if you weren't outnumbered 4-1. Shimakaze eats a blind torpedo.
Destroyer blown up.
Montana dies to torpedoes and fire.
Destroyed an enemy battleship. Our victory is in sight.
Well, that was handy, and a bit of a game changer. Once again, our victory is, in fact, in sight. If only the Montana had saved his damage control for when he actually needed it, rather than blowing it on a single fire, not once but twice, while, I hasten to remind you, going under a concentrated high explosive spam from a ship that has 12 guns, each of which have a 19% chance of setting another fire. So now it's 1 against 2. Well, technically it's 1 against 1. Because as you can see by the capture progress at the top of the screen, the Harugumo is all the way over at the other side of the map, capping Alpha, which means El Marto has this Des Moines all to himself. Now, the Des Moines sank the Neptune earlier, and I know that the Des Moines was firing high explosive at the Neptune because he actually sank the Neptune by burning him to death. And at least initially, he starts off by firing high explosive at El Marto's Zhao as well, knocks out one of his torpedo launchers. He does switch to armor piercing, just a little bit too late to catch El Marto in the turn. Here's the armor piercing now. But now that El Marto is angled away from him, he continues to fire the armor piercing, doing, well, very little damage, because El Marto's angled away from him. Perhaps he's thinking, well, El Marto is actually sailing into the border, he's going to have to turn at some point. It would be good to have the armor piercing loaded so I can broadside Citadel him when he does. And El Marto is going to hit that border soon, and he's going to have to turn one way or the other. Des Moines is still firing that American Super Heavy 203mm armor piercing. A turn at this point can be very costly for El Marto. But then, precisely when an armor piercing salvo would have done the most damage, perhaps because he got frustrated and not actually doing much damage up until now, the Des Moines switches back to high explosive. And that,
Destroyed.
and this,
Victory is in sight.
if they'd been armor piercing, could have ended the match there and then. But, well, would have, could have, should have, didn't. And now, it's gone from being a 4-on-1 to a 1-on-1. El Marto launches his spotter plane. There's a Harugumo out there somewhere. He knows on what bearing he's going to be approaching from because he's got the RPF indicator pointing in the direction of the closest enemy ship, and there is only one enemy ship left. At this point, with around 2 minutes of the game remaining, El Marto can win just by staying alive. Even with 3 caps under their control, there just isn't enough time for the enemy team to reach 1,000 points before the clock runs out. So, El Marto has the luxury of being able to win either by killing the last enemy ship or just not dying. The Harugumo must kill El Marto in order to win. And while El Marto doesn't have any charges remaining on his hydroacoustic search consumable, he does have his spotter plane up, and he's going to know at least when the Harugumo is within 9.7 kilometers, because somebody will suddenly start spotting him. And thanks to the RPF skill, he knows exactly in which direction to point his guns. Now, this is by no means an assured victory, because the Harugumo is a very, very dangerous destroyer. It's not just lethal to other destroyers, it's lethal to cruisers as well. It's a small, reasonably fast target. It's not particularly quick by destroyer standards, but it's not that slow either. It is actually, I must apologise, just a little bit faster than the Yugumo, which explains why it was able to catch and kill the Yugumo earlier. But the Harugumo's 10 100mm guns, with their insane rate of fire, can melt a Zhao on half health in a matter of seconds. And if he's going to win in a gunfight between a Zhao and a Harugumo, El Marto is going to have to make every single shot count. And he is spotted now. He knows the Harugumo must be within 9.7 kilometers. But here's the thing about a gunfight between a Harugumo and a Zhao. In order to win that gunfight, the Harugumo has to actually use his guns, rather than trying to set up for a torpedo shot on a moving Zhao with 10 seconds of the match remaining. El Marto in the Zhao. 6 kills, 235,000 damage, and pretty much all of the awards. Made it look kind of easy, didn't he? El Marto, thank you for sending that one in. Everybody else, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.